On these fields, games are played. Games that are called America's pastime. And on these fields, it comes down to the simplistics of life. It is where dreams are made. It is where goals are achieved. But it comes down to the basics. A ball, a bat, a glove. Whether you're playing on the sandlots of your neighborhood or the stadiums that seat thousands. If you are a coach, if you are a parent, and if you are a player on these Field of Dreams, this show is for you. Hey everybody, welcome to Close to the Heart here on YouTube.com. I certainly appreciate you taking time out of your day to give this a watch. My name is Jason Klaus, and if you are a regular subscriber to our channel, you listen to the podcast, you and I, we have a relationship. But this particular episode has the ability to reach a new audience because I'm tackling a different topic on this episode. I want to talk about youth organized sports, more specifically baseball, and I guess in turn softball can be applied here too, because it's that time of year and a lot of the little leagues, the travel leagues, these things are in full motion now. And as a parent of a young baseball player who has these dreams of going to Major League Baseball and being one of the big superstars of our national pastime, every year I come across the same type of things, and there are things that need to be addressed. There are things that should be commended, and then there are things that should be called out on. Now, a lot of kids in your neighborhood, in the country, around the world, have these aspirations of being a baseball superstar. And let's be honest, right? Because we all know that, everybody has a different skill set, and everybody is going to have various levels of success no matter what endeavor that they are embarking on. In this particular case, the game of baseball. Even with all the technological advances and things of this nature that have morphed our sense of reality, the game of baseball remains one of the most simplistic, honest, and pure things that we have left in our society. It makes no difference if you have played now or if you played 20 years ago. The game of baseball is generally played in 9 innings, 3 outs per team per inning. You have to score more runs than your opposing team. There are 9 positions on the field, and that basis of the game has remained intact for as long as anybody can remember. Now, I firmly believe that baseball can be applied to just about every aspect in life. The lessons that you learn while playing the game of baseball can be applied in various aspects throughout the course of our lifetime. How many baseball analogies have you heard in your day? Quite a few of them. Because the stars of yesterday left these indelible marks on us as fans. And as us as fans, they have inspired the dream in many a young player. The ones who are going out on the field, these fields of dreams, in hopes of one day making it to the show, as they call it in Major League Baseball. In a lot of ways, there is not a more pure activity offered to our youth. Now, with anything else, anything that we do as an extracurricular activity should be met with fun. But like anything else, in terms of any type of competition, you are going to have your good days and you are going to have your bad days. I want to touch on a number of different aspects in relation to the overall experience of youth baseball. Youth specifically, because that's kind of the first person narrative that I'm seeing on a regular basis, again, as a parent of a young baseball player. Actually, two of them. My daughter is in softball. So I wanted to take a couple of moments, a little bit of your time this week, and kind of touch on the different aspects and what we can do, whether you are a coach, whether you are a parent, or whether you are the actual player, on how we can make this the most positive experience in your young players' lives. Let me talk to you, the ball player. I understand wholeheartedly how frustrating it can be to have all of the ambition, to have all of your focus set on having the game of your life each and every time you take the field. That should be your mentality. You should be going out there with the thought that you are better than your other team. Because I find that in the game of baseball, a lot of your success is going to deal directly as a result of your mental approach to the game. Regardless of how old you are, regardless of what league you're playing in, regardless of your skill set, any of that, you got to get back down to fundamentals. When you get back down to fundamentals, you keep a solid foundation under you. Now, we all have these dreams and aspirations of being the star of the team. We have aspirations of being the one that's head and shoulders above the rest. But at the end of the day, baseball remains a team sport. Not just what happens on the field, but just as important, what happens in the dugout. It's easy to have a sense of camaraderie and lightheartedness when things are going your way, when you have scored more runs than your opponent. It's easy to maintain a positive attitude in the dugout. It's easy to maintain a positive disposition on the field. But what happens when things aren't going your way, when you're having a bad game, when the opponent is just having their way with you? That's going to happen. You're not going to win every single game you ever play in. It's inconceivable. And we need to understand that. You need to understand that with every bad game you had, you're going to have a better one somewhere down the line. That's the funny thing about baseball. Baseball is one of those things, man, it's play by play. You may have blown catching a pop-up in center field. It happens. You are a human. Humans make mistakes. Very rarely will we ever come across anybody who's 100% perfect. In fact, in my day, I've yet to see one. That's just part of the human element. You're going to make mistakes. But what we do as a team, what we do as teammates, That will determine your level of professionalism. That will determine your level of success. And overall, whether you realize it or not, that will determine how you are remembered, not just as a member of the team, but as a person who you are individually. Now, it's easy to celebrate all of the great things that happen. But what really makes a great teammate is how you lift each other up in times of mishaps, in times of despair, in times when your team is being blown out, because it's going to happen. It's important to maintain a strong team chemistry, because as long as you have a strong team chemistry, nothing can derail you from your success. And it may not always materialize on the scoreboard. That's what we have to get past. Baseball, yes. In the game of baseball, you ultimately want to score more runs than your opponent to be declared the winner of any particular game. Yeah, in the standings, that's important. But in the game of life, ultimately, that is number two. It's how you treat each other. It's how you lift each other up in your worst days. That's what makes a true professional. That's what makes a good teammate. And that's what makes a strong team. One of the other things that I find that I hear, especially as a parent of a ball player, is a team will look at their opponents, the opposing team. And they may be bigger and they may seem to be stronger, and psychologically you have already put it in your head that you can't beat them because they may have bigger players on that team than you do. That doesn't matter. That does not matter, because as long as you are willing to keep fighting no matter what happens on that field, as long as you guys work together, as long as you are that unbreakable bond, you can beat any other team on any day. It's just it is what it is. You're not always going to win, no. But if you can take something away from a loss, if you can learn from a mistake, if you can find something to build off of for that next game, you have already entered that next game a step better than you were in your last. It's psychological. You got to put it in your brain that you are good enough, regardless of what the other players look like, regardless of what numbers they're putting up. Don't be intimidated by a number, because at the end of the day, it comes down to basic fundamentals. Don't worry about hitting a ball out of the ballpark. Worry about playing small ball. Get the guy on base. Advance that runner all the way around. The next thing you know, you are chipping away and you are adding runs to the scoreboard. You don't have to beat yourself before you even step onto the diamond. They may be bigger, they may be stronger, but there's something that you guys have that they don't. If you apply that, that's chemistry, that's camaraderie, that's having each other's back, that's being a team of one, not individuals. It's supporting each other, it's backing each other up. That's the game of baseball. And that can be translated to this game we call life. Don't ever let the fear of striking out prevent you from stepping up to the plate. Babe Ruth said that. One of the greatest ball players of all time. But that can be applied to just about any aspect in life. You have dreams, you have aspirations, you have these things in mind that you want to do, that you want to accomplish, that you want to get to. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take a lot of dedication. and it's going to take a strong mind. A mind that is as strong as your body. Because a lot of times when it comes down to basic fundamentals, it comes down to you. It comes down to your heart. It comes down to your mind. It comes down to what you can bring. And a lot of it is attitude. A lot of it is mental. Yes, you are going to screw up, but don't let that dictate how you play the rest of the game. Learn from that mistake. Because if you learn from that mistake, you know not to do that again. And the next time a similar scenario presents itself, you're going to know what to do. And the result will, by and large, be better off than the last one. Don't let the fear of striking out prevent you from stepping up to the plate, because eventually you will have your day. You will have your moment. Now, how many of them you have, that's up to you. It comes down to being one solid team. It comes down to having each other's back. It comes down to chemistry. It comes down to camaraderie. It comes down to a kinship, a union that makes you guys unbreakable, regardless of what happens on the field. To coaches and parents. Now, I understand wholeheartedly how bad you want your player to do good. I understand your desire to have your player have the game of his or her life. But how you present yourself, how you interact with your player, is ultimately going to determine what kind of success they have on the field. There are a lot of tremendous coaches. And in turn, there are a lot of tremendous parents who go above and beyond to do everything that they can for their ball player. They're lugging a lot of weight and equipment, hundreds of miles across the area to get from one tournament or one game to another, sacrificing their own time, their own efforts to make sure that their ball player has all of the advantages that they possibly can. But it's not just what happens on the field. It's what happens in the dugout. It's what happens in the batter's box. It's what happens at home. Because if you are one of these parents that are trying to revisit your glory days vicariously through your child, and you are one of those that drops a heavy hammer, as they say, you're not doing anybody any good. In fact, you are causing irreparable damage. You may not realize it. You may think it's tough love. You may think that you were just trying to motivate your player. And to some degree, that is the case. That is working. Do you want to make a positive impact on your player or a negative one? And what I mean by that is, how many times have you been to a game where you've seen a coach publicly berate a player on the field, in the dugout, screaming, hollering? Whole ballpark can hear what's being said and done. I've seen parents do the same thing. I've seen parents rip their kids out of the dugout, take them to an alternative part of the field, and just rip them apart in front of the whole world. Why? What are you trying to accomplish? There's a fine line between trying to motivate a player with tough love and just being an outright bully, being an outright problem, because you're doing nobody any good, especially the player. The player is doing bare minimum just not to get yelled at. And that's not what the experience of baseball is supposed to be about. What kind of influence are you looking to make? What kind of influence do you want to have? What kind of impact are you trying to make on these young, impressionable players? At the end of the day, while you may want your player, your child, to go as far as they can, all the way to the bright lights of Major League Baseball, at the end of the day, it's them that's playing, not you. At the end of the day, they're the ones that are stepping up to the batter's box, not you. And how you interact with them, how you teach them, how you coach them is going to make a huge difference into the level of their success. The kind of interaction that parents have with their coaches, with the players, determines the overall result, the overall success, and the overall experience of what is supposed to be fun, what is supposed to be their release, that is supposed to be their moment to step into the spotlight, regardless of what field they're playing on. Whether it's a sandlot, whether it is a little league field, whether it is the stadiums of Major League Baseball. Provide them the opportunity and the help and the push to get them to where they want to be. But at the end of the day, it's their dream, not yours. And if you find out that you are trying to achieve your personal dreams vicariously through your child, and they're not really all that invested in achieving what you think the dream should be, they're not going to perform as well. They're going to do bare minimum just not to be humiliated, just not to get yelled at. You're not motivating anybody other than a quick exit from the game that child once loved. Baseball is America's pastime. It is supposed to be fun. It is supposed to be educational. But at the end of the day, it comes down to basics. The basic fundamentals of life. 3 strikes, you're out. 9 innings. Baseball's supposed to be fun. Restore that sense of fun for your player. They will achieve a lot more that way than they will being harped on and humiliated. Certainly appreciate you taking time out of your day to give this a watch. If you dig what we're doing here on the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, and you can check out the latest episode of the Close to the Heart podcast. They drop every Tuesday morning at midnight over at anchor.fm, and within a half an hour later on Spotify. So thank you so much. I'm Jason Klaus, and until next time, be awesome to yourselves and to each other. We'll see you right back here on the Close to the Heart show on youtube.com.